Hello, and welcome to the Venue Coach Blueprint for Owners. I'm Kyle Labar. This podcast is all about helping you fill your wedding venue with more bookings, earn more from each one, and keep your customers happy for a long time. We'll also talk about some tough times and big lessons that I've learned along the way. Let's dive in together and make your venue the best spot for weddings. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Venue Coach. Today is Daily Tip Day, and I'm going to talk about how to handle last minute cancellations effectively. To do that, I'm going to share a story about a last minute cancellation we had last year, and what we did, how we handled it, and key takeaways. So, the situation at hand, it was about 21 days before their event, and they messaged us and said, hey, we want to cancel. First, we say, are you sure? You're only 21 days out. You've already paid in full. And they said, no, we just want to have something simple at our property. So, okay, no problem. Like, you've already paid for it. We can keep the date open for you in case you change your mind. No, we're not going to do it. We're going to move forward at our place. So then, about a week later, they reached back out and requested a refund. Or what they said, how much would we be getting back after canceling? And we said, well, unfortunately, nothing, because we're not only does our contract state that there's no refunds, but also you're within a month of the event, and there's no way we could ever fill that again. Like, the day is lost. So unfortunately, there's no refund, but what's the problem? What's going on? And let's see if we can't work this out. And they said, well, we don't like your bar contract, and there was a misunderstanding there, and they thought their hand was being forced into something that wasn't true. And so we explained, that the how the bar contract worked, and they still weren't happy with it and wanted to cancel. So we told them, hey, we understand that there's a misunderstanding. Although you said you wanted to cancel, we're happy to leave the date open in case you change your mind. It's still available. We're still ready to go. Um, just let us know. And so they didn't wind up going with us, and we had some vendors that we're close with, and they went and they were really confused as to why it happened. So that was a confusing one for us, but the main things that we focused on in all of our communication with the family was we wanted to make sure that we resolved any miscommunications or misunderstandings. We wanted to make sure that they were um, if it was a misunderstanding, that we could work it out. Like, we're totally willing to work those things out, make sure that we're all on the same page. And then the other piece was, even though they had said that they were canceled, we were still willing to have the event if they changed their mind. And so I think that the key is just, and this is a key takeaway for us. We want to be as respectful as we can while maintaining our protections, right? So we have the protections with the contract, and we just want to make sure that we're not only just like watching out for us and taking care of us, but also watching out for them. Had they approached us and said, "Oh yeah, this was a misunderstanding. Let's work this out." Great, let's work it out and make sure we're all on the same page. Unfortunately, that's not the route they decided to go, and so it kind of tied our hands on that. Now, we have had other cancellations or people that message us and say that they need to cancel when all they really needed was a reschedule. And so we go through that again. We say, hey, you've already paid this much on your deposit. It's not refundable. We would really like to just reschedule this for you, so that way you're not losing the money that you've already paid, and it's we can work it out. And so typically, as long as the couple isn't like breaking up and they hate each other, or like all this stuff, as long as it's nothing like that, we can get them to reschedule, and it's not a big deal. We also, if they're rescheduling, and typically ours is if it's within 6 months and they're rescheduling, they have to just like everything that they paid is out, right? Because we're losing that day that otherwise would have been a profit for us. And so sometimes, depending on the day in question, like say they rescheduled a weekday, so the original date is on the weekday, and then we get them to reschedule. Instead of saying, well, you lose everything, we'll work with them and say, oh, well, let's pay the difference between this date and the new date, and so that way it's not a complete loss. And so things like that. I'm not saying this is right for you in your business, but this is an example of how we like to handle our cancellations. And hopefully this is something that you can draw inspiration from and give you a good idea of how to tackle a tricky situation. So if you found this useful, please subscribe and I will catch you in the next one.